Welcome to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang, your intel in the Philippine markets and the economy. In the headlines, keep a lid on inflation while stamping out corruption. That's what 56% of Filipinos say President Marcos should prioritize, reveals the latest SWS survey. As corruption issues dig deep, one of the Philippines' largest food company, CDO Foodsphere, says it's cautiously optimistic as it gears up for expansion and prepares for the Christmas holiday season. We have an excerpt from my Thought Leaders interview with President and CEO Jerome Ong.
That is why we are also maintaining our prices and in fact have even reduced the prices for some of our Christmas products.
What goes up must go down. Gold slumps the most in 5 years after a record-breaking streak. We speak with Peter Luis Garnace, analyst at Unicapital Securities Research. A new social weather station survey shows that most Filipinos want President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to focus on lowering food prices above all else. According to the poll, 56% of respondents said reducing the price of rice and other basic goods should be the government's top priority. Meanwhile, 31% urged the administration to address corruption, reflecting public demand for both economic relief and good governance. The nationwide survey was conducted by SWS from September 24 to 30, 2025 among 1,500 respondents with a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. Former President Rodrigo Duterte and Senator Bongo are facing plunder charges filed by former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV. Trillanes went to the office of the Ombudsman Tuesday to sue Duterte and go for abusing their power. Trillanes alleges that CLTG Builders and Alfrego Builders cornered 7 billion pesos worth of flood control and road widening projects in Davao. These firms are owned by Go's father and brother, respectively. Over 200 contracts have been awarded from 2008, while Duterte was still mayor of Davao until he assumed the presidency, with Go serving as his special assistant. Go quickly denied the allegations.
Alam naman natin na magkadugtong ang bituka ni Bongo at Duterte, kaya hindi niya pwedeng ipagkaila na hindi na impluwensyahan ito. Bawal po ito, di ba? Hindi mo pwedeng bigyan ng kontrata yung tatay at kapatid mo.
You are barking at the wrong tree. Tumbukin po yung dapat tumbukin. Nasa na yung mga dapat kasuhan sa issue ng flood control? Nasa na? Bakit walang mga pinangalanan na malalaking tao? Yung mga buhaya, ba't pilit yung pinagtatakpan?
The Office of the Ombudsman is targeting to file cases before the Sandigan Bayan or regional trial courts in November. Ombudsman Boying Remulla says subpoenas are being issued this week against personalities behind alleged ghost flood works in Bulacan and Oriental Mindoro. Remulla is pushing for procedural reforms to avoid inordinate delays in cases. As for the ICI, the Commission is all set for its technical validation of 421 suspected ghost floodworks. The ICI met with police officials on Tuesday for a coordination meeting along with some engineers. Meanwhile, Senate President Tito Soto says Senator Ping Lacson will return as chair of the powerful Blue Ribbon Committee 100%.
Ako, tingin ko si Senator Lacson, 100% na babalik bilang Blue Ribbon Committee Chair. Marami pang hindi nauungkat. At kung ito'y makakatulong, ang tingin niya siguro, mas makakatulong ito sa ICI at doon sa Ombudsman and the Department of Justice.
Malacanang denies that Finance Secretary Ralph Recto has resigned from his post. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said that such rumors are, quote, not true. Recto has been the subject of online noise following his pronouncements of the expanded value-added tax, which he authored when he was still a senator. As finance chief, he has insisted that lowering taxes at this point will only hurt the national budget and affect public services. He also said that the corruption scandal is slowing down the country's economic growth. As inflation concerns persist, one of the Philippines' biggest food company, CDO Foods Fear, assures customers it will keep prices of its Noche Buena items where they are during the upcoming holiday season. Ong told me on Thought Leaders, the family-owned corporation remains cautiously optimistic despite government corruption concerns. Here's an excerpt of my interview with him.
I think the consumers still feel the pinch of the 4 to 5, 6% inflation level, and we also felt that because at that time, the cost of our materials also went up. In fact, at that time, our cost increased by more than 10 to 12%, but we had to temper our price increases, our price adjustments, so that to make it easier for the consumer. So I think there was a time in 2022, 2023 that we had to increase by about 3 to 5% every year because of high inflation, high cost. And the consumers felt that, and that was experienced across many items, many commodities, especially food. So it's a welcome development that it's now, I didn't check, but I believe last time it was 1.8 or 2%.
1.7%.
1.7%. I think that's a very good level, and that is why we are also maintaining our prices, and in fact have even reduced the prices for some of our Christmas products and some of our year-round items to not just to spur demand, but to make it affordable, to make our products affordable for the Filipino consumers.
When you mentioned inflation was in double digits, is that the pandemic inflation and the cumulative inflation that's now still working its way through the system? So that's still something that you think consumers are feeling?
Yeah. Oh, thank you for clarifying that, Cathy. Actually, during the pandemic, our costs only increased marginally. That was because of the supply chain challenges brought about by the pandemic when movements were restricted. But what affected us more was when Russia invaded Ukraine back in early 2022, I believe, because at that time, major commodities, both countries being very large agricultural economies, that tension affected supply and prices of crops that are used as animal feeds, such as soya, wheat, and it also threatened even the petroleum supply out of the Middle East. So that petroleum price went up also. As I recall, even interest rates also went up. So all of that combined put pressure on our costs.
Catch my full interview with CDO President and CEO Jerome Ong on Thought Leaders on One News, also live streamed on our social media channels. Here are the headlines from around the globe. In the U.S., President Donald Trump reverses course in meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin over the war in Ukraine. Trump says he has no plans to talk to Putin in the immediate future after Russia made clear it has no intention of cutting a deal to end the war. Trump says, quote, "I don't want to have a wasted meeting." In Japan, Sanai Takachi has formed a minority government to be Tokyo's first female prime minister. A protege of assassinated leader Shinzo Abe, Takachi is expected to move Japan farther to the right with her ultra-conservative views on the economy and immigration. She has also resisted acknowledging Japanese atrocities during World War II. And in France, specialists believe that while police can capture the suspects in Louvre's robbery, they will struggle to recover the priceless goods. Paris prosecutors have turned to an elite unit known as the BRB to hunt the four thieves behind Sunday's 7-minute robbery. France estimates that the Louvre lost 90 million euros or $104 million in the country's most dramatic heist in decades. The gang targeted the Louvre's Apollo Gallery, which contains some of France's historic crown jewels. And you're watching Money Talks. Coming up, after a record-breaking surge, gold prices are on track for its steepest fall in years. And Peter Garnace of Unicapital Securities Research weighs in on this and risk appetites for stocks. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. The International Monetary Fund warns the Philippine economy could see higher inflation and slower growth as stronger and more frequent typhoons disrupt supply chains and farm production. The IMF estimates a Category 5 storm could push headline inflation up by 0.4 percentage points and food inflation by 0.7. Data from the Agriculture Department show typhoons Nando, Mirasol, and Opong caused more than 7 billion pesos in farm losses, damaging nearly 500,000 hectares and hundreds of thousands of metric tons in output. The IMF says these shocks could cut agricultural productivity by as much as 2.5% and shave 0.4 point off the GDP. It also urged policymakers to strike a balance between controlling inflation and supporting recovery after disasters. U.S. equities mostly took a breather Tuesday amid signs of buyer exhaustion. The Nasdaq fell by 0.1%. S&P 500 virtually unchanged, adding just 0.022 points. As for the Dow, it reached a record high, gaining by nearly 0.5%. The benchmark 10-year Treasury yield settled to its lowest reading since October 2024 at 3.962%. And gold prices posted their steepest drop in 5 years, falling by 5.7% to settle at $4,087 per ounce. U.S. futures are little changed, with the Nasdaq down by nearly 0.25%, with both the Dow and the S&P by 0.1% each. Let's take a look at the Asian markets, down this Wednesday as Japan ushers in new leadership. The Nikkei 225 falling by over 1%. Australia's ASX 200 slides by 0.8%, and South Korea's Kospi tumbles by 0.4%. And gold prices posted its steepest drop in years after a weeks-long rally that pushed the precious metal to record highs. At one point, gold slipped to over 6% to $4,004 per troy ounce, its sharpest intraday decline in over 12 years. It later settled at $4,087 per ounce, the steepest single-day drop in 5 years, or since 2020. Analysts say the sell-off followed heavy profit-taking after a record-setting run driven by rate cut expectations and safe haven demand. The pullback also came amid improving U.S.-China trade talks, a stronger dollar, and waning demand following India's seasonal buying period. And a quick check on the Philippine markets. PSEI opens this Wednesday lower by about 0.1%, 6,087. The stock market snapped its 3-day downturn yesterday, Tuesday, rising by 0.1% amid bargain hunting activities. The broader all-shares index, however, declined by 0.1%, with local counters mostly in the red. As for the Philippine peso, it opens today weaker, 58.32 the dollar. Peso closed yesterday weaker at 58.225 against the greenback. The 10-year government bond yields ticked up to 5.968%. With us now for more is Peter Luis Garnatze, the analyst at Unicapital Securities Research. Good seeing you again, Peter. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Cathy. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
All right, first, your take on gold and the Haven bid. What does the recent rally and pullback in gold prices tell us about risk appetite for stocks here and overseas?
Yeah, I think the drop in gold prices was quite expected, actually, given the steep and almost a linear and parabolic uptrend in the past few weeks, actually, which was also mirrored by the local gold proxies here in the stock market. We have actually cautioned our clients not to chase prices as gold has traded at an overbought levels already. And we believe that the recent drop is attributable to investors just taking profits, given the gold has already gained by almost 60% year to date. No. Nevertheless, we see this drop as a healthy correction or pullback for gold as we continue to see the yellow metal to be a multi-year story as we still see a stronger conviction in gold's safe haven appeal amid the rising global trade uncertainty, the ongoing de-dollarization trend, and continued accumulation by central banks. Also, still the tariff-driven inflation pressures and dovish U.S. Federal Reserve stance amid labor market concerns in the U.S.
It is interesting. When you look at the chart of gold, it is, as you described, steep and parabolic.
Yes.
Now that it's pushed back to its single biggest drop in 5 years, would you recommend that people buy now on that dip?
Maybe if we give a little more time, if the gold pulls back even maybe lower, so that's going to be more attractive in terms of long term or at least now medium to long term demand for gold.
I guess that means if you've got gold jewelry, just hang on to it for now. Let's take a look at another asset class, the PSEI. Compared with our ASEAN peers, when you look at that chart that you have in your report, our more developed counterparts here have all double-digit gains, from the Nikkei to the Shanghai to the Hang Seng. But look at us. We're down 6.7%. How do we compare with our ASEAN peers?
Yeah, I think we continue to underperform our ASEAN peers and even the U.S. Stock market. And this is actually really driven by the recent political turmoil and also still on the macro side of things. We also believe that the scale of corruption could have also been the reason why the index and the Philippine equities is quite underperforming those of our ASEAN peers and even the U.S. equities. So the investor sentiment is quite weak especially the foreign investors. And we have actually quite seen a declining, or at least a declining participation month to date, at least in terms of foreigners. Foreign participation was, I think, declined from around 50% to just 45% or so for the month of October. And also this has actually affected also the value turnover for the Philippine stock market. And it has thinned out as political jitters kept investors on the sidelines.
Let's take a look at net foreign because it's really interesting. It is a bar chart that you provided us. Look at that. You know, the progression of the thinning of the bars towards June. What does that represent in terms of the perception that investors have and how they're voting with their wallets and their money, keeping away from Philippine assets?
Yeah, right. I think even month to date, we have seen quite a net foreign selling, at least for the month of October. And the reason largely is because of again, the negative perception for the Philippines because of the recent political turmoil, especially the probe on corruption scandal of the government. So if they're gonna take a look at, if they're gonna compare Philippines to other ASEAN other ASEAN neighbors which have actually outperformed the Philippines. So those countries or those markets are actually more attractive given, they have also currently really good rally in terms of their stock markets.
It's quite sad, Peter, because when you look at the average daily turnover, and let's pull up that chart, because we've done as good as 8 billion. Take a look at that May bar there. That's the most that we've done on an average daily value basis for the year. But after that time, we'd pretty much just bounce around 6 to 7 billion pesos. What does that say of the local investor and how they're not, they're showing perhaps their risk aversion in the markets right now?
Yeah, I guess while we have seen value turnover to picked up actually following the implementation of the CIMAPA law, this was not sustained given global uncertainties as well as local political turmoil that we believe put investors on a wait and see mode. And even if I think local investors are currently on a wait and see mode, however, we continue to believe that the market remains to be attractive in terms of valuation. Our year-end target for the index is actually at 6,500. So that's our bear case scenario. And we think that our bear case scenario is currently at play. So we continue to believe that it's actually a good time also to accumulate in preparation for the Santa Claus rally, which seasonally during December or even after around January. So that's historically been the strongest season for the stock market.
I'm glad to hear that's still in play, the Santa Claus rally, when I was thinking maybe it's the Noche Buena rally, when we face a lot more inflation when Christmas comes. What's your read so far on inflation? Because when you take a look at the chart, it's been a steady increase ever since July, still well below the Bangko Sentral target range of between 2 and 4%. But layer over that sustained corruption concerns and public demands for accountability. Do you think that Santa Claus rally is still intact?
Yeah, we do believe that inflation print would continue to be around 2% by the end of the year. So it's still within the 2 to 4% target band of the government. And I think some upside risks to inflation given the recent typhoons and also the recent earthquakes, which would also affect the supply chain. So there would be some supply issues in terms of food, so that might also affect inflation. And also I think some upside risks in terms of electricity prices and also the rice prices also.
So where does that put our consumer-linked stocks? Because we've always said that we're consumer-led as a market, and that's what we can hang on to. Which ones are you keeping an eye on with potentially tighter margins ahead?
Yeah, I think consumer stocks remain in play, given that the BSP has also cut interest rates in the past few months or so, and we believe that the given that it has cut interest rates, so this would also provide some boost in terms of the demand of consumers. And at least for our in our view, one of the good consumer play in the stock market would be pure gold.
All right, well, we got to leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights. Peter Garnace of Unicapital Securities. In corporate news, Maynilad has set the final offer price for its initial public offering at 15 pesos per share, matching the upper end of its revised target range. The price was trimmed from the earlier 20 pesos after feedback from cornerstone investors, including the International Finance Corp and the Asian Development Bank. Maynilad will offer up to 1.6 billion shares with over-allotment and upsize options that could bring the total to 2.29 billion shares. The offer runs from October 23 to 29, with trading to begin November 7 under the ticker MYNLD. Maynilad's IPO will be the second listing this year after Cebu's top line and is expected to be the country's largest in 2025. And Maya has been named Apex Company of the Year at the 2025 Asia CEO Awards. The digital bank was recognized for transforming how Filipinos access payments and banking through technology. Maya also earned a Circle of Excellence citation for Technology Company of the Year, following its 2023 win as the most innovative company of the year. Maynilad, Maya, and Signal, the owner of this channel, are all part of the MVP group. That is it for Money Talks. I'm Cathy Yang. Catch us again tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Kapatid, we are one news, all sides, all the time. Have a great day ahead.